Yes, people. What's going on? Welcome back to United View. Happy Tuesday, 27th of May. But welcome back to the Transfer View. It's back. We are back. We are alive and kicking because you know what? Me and I thought about it. Obviously, Transfer View is due to sort of start probably 1st of June, really, is when that sort of first window opens. And
well, the window opens. The window's opening 1st of June for 10 days, isn't it? And then shuts again for like, I don't even know, like a couple of weeks. Then it opens again. It's like, it's a whole weird thing. But to your point, I think that you're about to make, transfers are already happening. Not just with us, with lots of different clubs, aren't they? You know, we're getting here he goes for Liverpool, for Arsenal, and also, most importantly, for Manchester United, mate. Yeah, Manchester United, here we go. I wish I had my button, but my iPad died.
Oh, did it? Disgrace.
I just forgot to charge it up, didn't I? So
disgrace cheat.
Yeah.
Flecknology.
Yeah.
Something I would do that, just forget to charge it.
Yeah.
So
I know. Very disappointed.
Learning off me. No, it's okay. It happens, mate. It's not. This is what I'm saying. So it just happens. It's fine. It's not. You're not any less of a person. It just happens. Doesn't mean OWEN-nology or Flecknology. You just forgot to charge your iPad. So
I feel very less of a person. That's how I judge my entire being, is whether I charge up my electrical equipment.
Well, no. I get a lot of flack to be sometimes less of a person just because accidental things happen. So I'm just letting you know you don't need to feel that way. It's okay.
Yeah.
Oh. But you're right. That's what I'm saying, man. There's transfers galore. So we're starting a transfer view from now because all we are talking about is transfers. And actually, when you think about yesterday's show, last night's show, basically what you can see from the fan base, what you can feel from the community, and this is important to listen to our community, is that actually we are in a space where most people just want to look forward. It has happened. We know it's happened. There's no point doing the outrage. We kind of, and because the drop off was so bad, the whole way the inquest was kind of happening. Like we haven't arrived at the end of gone, right, let's breathe. What do we need? It's like, we know we need a goalkeeper from ages ago. We know Rasmus Højlund's rubbish from ages ago. We know we need 10s. We know we need 8s. We know we need wing backs. We know we need a lot of stuff. Who needs to leave? Let's talk about it. We know who needs to leave. So actually, on that, it's actually helped me. That actually helped me yesterday. Now when I think about it, because like I said, Sunday, you know where I was. Very toxic fan. Went up there just to moan, complain. People in the comments were even saying, "Oh, look, you're still being negative," you know. But I had to do that for myself. But now I've done that. It's true. It is about looking that way. Like we have to go that way. It's in the past. This is past tense that season. It's all about how we're going to fix it. And Delap / Mbeumo / Cunha fee revealed / there's a little bit of Eze interest / we're trying to bring players in to fix this shit. So yes, just before we get into the show though, obviously, I'm sure you was all aware of what happened yesterday in Liverpool, the scenes in Liverpool, in the streets of the city, with the incident that happened up there. Obviously, everyone here at United View, everyone in the comments, everyone in the footballing world, everyone in society is really, really sorry with what's happened up there, and hopefully, there's people that aren't too seriously hurt from what happened, but it looked really, really bad. So thoughts and prayers with everybody or anybody affected by what's happened up in Liverpool yesterday in the aftermath of that, which is now today. So yeah, our thoughts are with those guys as well. Right, super chats, because there's some straight off the bat before we even get into the actual news and what we're going to be talking about. There's loads already. Liam Kerr says, if we want a squad overhaul, then we need numbers. This expectation that we can sign the best of the best is beyond deluded. Keep pushing early deals. Ethan has gifted one United View membership, which is, we've kicked it off because yesterday, if you weren't there, go back and check it out, man. It was ridiculous. There was about, I don't know, I want to say about 300 memberships given out, or maybe 250.
Probably close to, probably close to. Yeah, it was insane. Yeah.
Ridiculous. So Ethan Lockie, he's kicked it off with one. Another 198 to go. No pressure.
Yes.
199 to go. Terence Pace says, first of all, courage to Liverpool for what happened yesterday, 100%. About the game on Sunday, had fun, great atmosphere, especially at the Blaze. Obviously, nice little pub there. But the squad needs a desperate overhaul for most positions. Definitely agree with you there, Terence. And Joe says, why don't we sign Emi Martinez, Oblak, or Pickford? Well, we'll talk about goalkeepers as well. We will be talking about Liam Delap. Deal agreed. There's a lot of news on that. 50 million in Mbeumo talks. and the Cunha fee is actually revealed and how we're going to pay it and when the installments go in and this, that, and the third. Major United exits, who's going to be leaving? Everyone's got their price. And there was a little bit on Eze as well, just a tiny little bit. We'll see what happens with that. Owen, take it away. There's a lot to get into, bro.
Yes, there's a lot to get into this morning, beginning with Liam Delap, because Rob Dawson, and this is a lot. There's a lot of conflicting reporting on this one, Flex. When it comes to Liam Delap, so Rob Dawson has said that Manchester United have agreed the framework of a deal for Liam Delap and are now waiting for the striker to decide on his next move. United have informed Ipswich that they will meet the £30 million release clause in Delap's contract if he gives the green light for a move. It continues by saying the outline of personal terms have been agreed with Liam Delap's representatives, and the transfer could move quickly once the striker makes a decision on the future. So this is why we're in deal agreed territory here, because it's an easy deal to do, obviously, with Ipswich, the release clause. They've already told Ipswich, we're going to meet the release clause. They've already agreed the personal terms with Delap's representatives. They know what he's looking for in his contract, etc. And they said, yep, we'll give you that. We're now just waiting on what does Delap want to do? Because, I know that there's been a lot of some, saying that they've done a lot of work on actually this Delap deal behind the scenes. And Manchester United, despite what happened last Wednesday, they feel like they're front runners and they feel like they're leading the race. Others, I saw Alex Crook yesterday was sort of saying, well, now you have to consider Chelsea as leading the race because they have something that Manchester United don't, which is Champions League football. So that kind of puts them ahead, almost in theory, not necessarily in action, but in theory. And they're obviously interested in Liam Delap too. He fits their model. So it's really just a case of now.
Newcastle United as well, isn't it?
Yeah, possibly Newcastle. And also it must be said that we've heard for weeks that there's a lot of Premier League clubs interested in him because the release clause is low and he scored goals, etc., etc. So it's really just about who sells him the best project here. Manchester United clearly feel like they can do that. So the deal's been agreed, not just in terms of a fee, not just in terms of personal terms. So it's now just going, right, Liam Delap, where do you want to go? And if he says Manchester United, I suppose critically here, the suggestion is because all of this legwork has been done, the moment he says yes, then it's here we go, done, because everything else has already been agreed to. So this one could be very, very quick. It just depends. What does Liam Delap want to do and how long does he want to take to make that decision?
Yeah, exactly. I think Kieran McKenna said it when I read his quotes, the Ipswich Town manager. He was basically saying, we're going to help Liam with that. And he's talking to relevant clubs. And when they say help, it's just more of an advice thing, really, because there's nothing. Your release clause is 30 million and all these clubs will pay it. So there's not really... Ipswich are not really involved in it that much, really.
Do you think Kieran could do us a bit of a favour?
Maybe he could. But then you say that he's brilliant with young players, and he's coached at academy level, and he wants what's best for young players. If he's going to be honest with Liam,
and he might know how bad it is.
He might know how bad it is, and also, not even as a joke side, but actually, like he understands the pressures of what comes at Man United. He's seen players come through the academy. He's been at first team level with Ollie and Michael Carrick when they were managing or coaching, and McFeeling and that, and he would be telling him firsthand, listen, obviously amazing club, this, that and the other, chance to put yourself on the world stage, even though United are poor right now, but the level of scrutiny, the level of patience you're going to need, the mindset you're going to need. He will warn him. I'm going to say warn him. He will warn him of these things as well, because I don't think Kieran McKenna is the type of manager that, yes, obviously he's got the United links. I don't think he'll just go, you've got to go. It's fine. He'll do both. He'll tell him both. So, and he'll balance up with, Chelsea, high turnover of players. If you fall out of favour, you've got that 8-year deal. Good contract to have, but if you want to move on, and that's a tough club, because they sort of chew you up, spit you out as well, like how we can or want better. Newcastle United, mate, they've kept his sack. So for your development, let's be fair, you're going to be the new Callum Wilson. That's what you're going to be.
Yeah, because Wilson's going, isn't it? They've said,
that's all you're going to be. You're going to be the new Callum Wilson, which is Isak. We've got to manage his minutes because we've got a lot of games next year. So you probably get 10 to 15 starts, maybe, but that's the best. Forest, they're coming away from Wood, but didn't get the Champions League, but they're going places. Do you know what I mean? These are all things he has to consider. So Everton, new stadium, David Moyes, good manager. You know, they'd love you there straight away. The
Well,
Evertonians, you know,
you could see a Brighton, couldn't you? João Pedro
Brighton,
looks like he's
João
going to probably
Pedro,
leave. So,
good
you know,
club, definitely
you
a
go
stepping
there.
stone. You're only 22,
Yeah.
2 years, you'd be worth 60 million. You know, Hertzler will keep working with you. There's so much. And, you know, you get pundits that say, if you're Liam Delap, don't go Man United yet. Don't. It's too unstable. Like, you know, go somewhere where you get, well, he would play. He would play every game if he came to us because he'd be the number 1 striker. That's fine. But the scrutiny.
Would he?
Well, what, if we got another one, you mean? Or Xerxes, maybe?
Yeah,
Just,
you know, possibly.
Might not
possibly. Because that's, I think, the pushback on this signing in general, isn't it? Of like, it's not, this signing's been met with quite a lot of mixed feelings, hasn't it? There's a school of thought of, look, yeah, he's good. He's already scored goals in the Premier League. That's in an Ipswich side that got relegated, and the 3 sides that got relegated this year are really poor. So if you have managed to get double figures, which he has, you know, that's something to build off of, actually. And in a better team, hopefully with now better players in it that we're going to be bringing in, like Cunha, hopefully like Mbeumo and others, and more chances created. Okay, well, that's an upgrade. And anything's an upgrade because we've got nothing at the moment. You know, we've got, our strikers are Joshua Zirkzee. He's not a striker. He's a 10, and he'll continue, I think, to play as a 10 or at most a false 9 moving forward. You've got Chido, who's still yet to get a senior goal, and he's really, really young, and he really shouldn't even been playing at this point in time. It's just because we've got nothing. And then you've got Rasmus Højlund, which is, we know, stop-start, shouldn't have been bought for the price that we paid. I don't think initially that was even the desire. The desire was for him to be a backup, and he's looked like a young backup striker that's leading the line at Manchester United. It hasn't worked out. So that Delap is an upgrade, but is it enough for what we need? Because it's still a young person coming in, hasn't played a ton of senior football. You know, we need probably someone still, in addition to that striker that's mid to late 20s, in their prime now.
And maybe they still get that. Maybe they do.
Maybe they still look at that. Maybe
this is really early in the window. We don't know who's going to get sold. Money could become available. You didn't think would become available.
These are just the deals that you can do quickly. And I think this is also the thing. Because look at the 2 ones that we're going for at the moment, you know, and are furthest along. They're both release clause deals. So they may not know the specifications to get it done. Yeah. Exactly. And once they're done, it's like, okay, right. We know we can get those ones done quickly. Then we go, right, you know, Mateta. I know you're in your league next season in Chelsea, but you got a year left and what have you. And you're talking about McKenna, whilst he could be talking about you want to stay clear, you can look at it the other way. If you're going to look at it positively and say, I tell you what, mate, this is a great opportunity for you. You know, Man United are rubbish at the moment, but if you get in there, you can turn it around. And like you said, you're going to be playing actually more than you might at some of these other clubs because they're desperate, frankly. And you know, that might be really good for you. And it's a challenge. You know, sometimes we forget about these managers and players. There's selfishness, but there's also ego in the sense of, I can turn it around. Yeah, of course I can. You know, I'd do really well there and I'll become a big player. So, yeah, I'm an advocate for this Delap deal, but I'm not an advocate for that's the only striker we get this summer. I still think we need more, but I think this will be the early one. And then way later on, there might be something where it's like, oh, okay, you know, I dip back into the market and look for another one. But I do think it's encouraging that, you know, 2 deals are effectively done already. You know, it's just a case of, you know,
what's really interesting to talk about is actually Ruben's quotes from the presser that's actually happened in Kuala Lumpur, because this shows actually, or where are they? In Hong Kong or Kuala Lumpur? Where are they? I think
Malaysia.
Malaysia, right. Yeah. But what he's saying, this is interesting actually, because we obviously have this plan to bring in a high amount of players. Now, what he says in the media versus what we go for as well, we've got to look at, because if you say we need loads of players publicly and we need this, we need that, prices could start going up. People know Man United are desperate. You've got to be careful what you say. But I have seen this as reporting before he said this about the squad size, which is important because we don't have as much games next year. So Ruben in the presser today, this is Ruben on having 2 plans for the summer window. We always prepare 2 plans, one with the Champions League, one without the Champions League. Without Champions League, we don't need a big squad. We can control the squad in a better way. Then we have a plan that is to bring in some new players, of course. But our big plan is to improve the team that we have. Is to improve our academy. That is the future. It's not going to change so much because we have the FFP rules. We are not allowed to do much this summer. It's important to stick together. We are going to struggle. It is not going to be everything right away, but I see the team improving, and that is the most important thing. Now, when you see the manager, again, when you read quotes or you see quotes or you see a manager in a presser, it's very easy to go, see, we're not buying anyone. Typical, you have to break it down and read between the lines of what he is definitely saying versus what he can't say, etc., etc. I think one fact that you would look at, just as a rule of thumb, is that you don't want a massive squad in a season where you've got one game a week. You don't tend to do that. Managers don't tend to like that. You're leaving loads of players out of match day squads. You've got a week to prepare for each game. You don't often have a massive, massive squad when you have a reset period when you've only got one game a week. I remember when Chelsea did that as well. You don't. But he's saying also, we can't do everything in one summer. Like, it's FF, like, we ain't got that much money. We've got to be careful about what we do. But I don't read that and be like, I tell you what, Delap and Cunha, that's probably going to be it, I don't think we've got any money.
No.
It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that.
No, I think, and this kind of goes to actually the sort of exit parts. We can jump ahead a little bit. This was kind of what he said. And he did say this prior to the Europa League final where, there are two plans. But obviously now that we're not in Europe, Man United are aiming to offload significantly more players after failing to qualify for the European competition. Man United intend to drastically reduce their senior squad numbers from the existing total of 31, including loanees, to the low to mid-20s, given they will have a smaller fixture load next season. Of course, one of those is people like Marcus Rashford. Romano reporting he's going to return to United after this loan at Villa. He's still going to be available for £40 million. It's the same price as the buy option into the Villa loan contract. It's also available to other clubs. Rashford's now going to assess all of his options ahead of the summer transfer window. But this is something I was kind of saying last night on the red carpet, which is what we're probably going to see is a similar amount of numbers coming in that we usually do most summer windows, which will be 4 or 5, probably. Maybe, there might be a couple of free agents here and there, so you never know, or a loan. Mm-hmm. But 4 or 5 players incoming, and it's just going to be significantly more exits because we just don't need the players, and we're really going to be trimming the fat even more than we had kind of intended to. So I wouldn't be shocked if the exits are like double figures. And
are bigger now because the squad needs to be smaller.
Exactly. And sometimes you get double figure exits most seasons, but of sort of bigger names than maybe had been previously thought. So, it might be a case of like Ruben. That's what I'm getting from what he says there. I'm getting that look, we're not going to bring everyone in this window, but there's certainly going to be a lot of turnover. I think there's going to be a lot of people moving on, or at least the players that we can move on, because you can talk about, again, those people that are out on loan. Anthony, Rashford, Sancho, they're all going to be going. We've already got people leaving with their contracts. Eriksen, Lindelof, Johnny Evans. Then you're looking at players that have been in the squad but still could go. So who knows if Bruno Fernandes goes? Højlund, he can go. Casemiro, he could still possibly, depending on what happens. Who else is involved in that? Onana, that's already 10. Then you're looking at maybe Bryan, he could go. You never know what happened with Maguire. He's got a year left as well. So you're already looking at, that's 12 players that can possibly be out.
And that's without the ones that are like the nailed on, like your league.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's double figures, and probably replace them with sort of maybe 4 or 5 players. So that's a net loss. That's the trimming there of the trimming. 6 or 7 players. So that's the trimming of the squad that's likely going to happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's so much to get into on today's show, guys. WJ Barrett, big up to you, bro. He says, morning Flexino, I hope you're good. Are we happy with Delap? 12 goals, 2 assists at a relegated team. I think he would thrive with better service. We'll get to that because we didn't really get to do that question yesterday with how the show ended, obviously. WJ, so yeah, we'll get back to that, bro. Joe Fleming says, I'll take Delap, but there best be another striker too. And Jay Silver says, Delap won't go Newcastle or Chelsea. He'll want guaranteed minutes because of the World Cup next year, which, again, a lot of the reports were saying he's got his eye on that 2026 squad. And actually, you talk about not just young English strikers. Let's talk about just English strikers of who's going to be trying to get in the framework for that. Obviously, Harry Kane's getting on a bit, but he will be the leader of that. That'll probably be his last big tournament. He might be able to stretch it 2 years later for the Euros, to be fair to him, actually. He probably will. But he'll be the main striker. But other than that, it has been back to Ivan Toney. He's been in Saudi. So there's an opportunity if you can get yourself playing regularly. Ollie Watkins, of course. We'll see how he does next year. Solanke. But if you're a young up, like someone like Liam Delap, he should be earmarking. Can I get in the squad? Can I get on the plane?
That third striker spot's up for grabs.
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
up for grabs, man. Because it's going to be what it'll definitely probably be Watkins and Kane. And then you go, how's Ivan doing out in Saudi next season? How's Delap doing this year? Where did he go? Is he on fire? Is he struggling? You know what I mean? It's that. So yeah, that is a big part of it, which is really true. This bit's interesting, actually, just with I had it in my head there. No, we're talking about improving. Oh, so we'll go back to that, actually. Let's go to what WJ Barrett's saying here, just sort of back to Delap. Are we happy with him? You know, and that's not as a condescent, because he's saying he is happy with him. How do we feel about him? Because some people are saying, look, it's a great market opportunity. He's young, he's up and coming, he's got a bit more about him than Højlund, you can see it, and he's low cost. But a lot of us are saying, well, yes, but how similar is this to Rasmus Højlund before he got here? How similar is he to Rasmus Højlund now, with no service in a team that isn't doing too well? And do we need to take into account that but we're improving that service? So you have to account for a striker that's going to get better service, i.e. with Cunha and Mbeumo. Or how are we feeling about Delap?
Yeah, well, this was kind of my point I was just making, that I think that I still think if we sign him, I think that there'll still be a look to see if we can get someone else in, because also, you know, with people like Højlund, I still think he might be moved on this summer. And if United can agree a deal, I don't think it's going to be a case of, we sold Højlund to bring Delap in. They're aiming to bring Delap in, I think, regardless. And then if they can move on a Højlund plus other players, and I think they'll look towards bringing in a senior striker, which is what we need. We need to spread the goals around. And that's why I'm excited about, obviously, Cunha, because he got nearly 20 goals in the Prem. So I'm excited about Mbeumo because it's 20 goals last season in the Prem. Delap, you know, he got 12. The reason I like the Cunha and the Mbeumo ones, because they're both, 25? So they're heading into their peak, their prime. And you feel like you'd need a striker of that similar kind of age too. So we still need more. I think if we do get more, it will happen later on, dependent on sales. But just because we need more, I'm not going to then sort of disparage him as a signing because of that. That's the only part of the criticism I don't get. Is like, wow, you know, well, we need more than that, so it's a bad signing. Well, I don't know if it necessarily works like that. That can still be a good signing, you know, regardless of what happens, because I think it's better than what we've got. It's just the bar's so low that we're like, oh,
can I ask this then? Can I ask this? Because Ruben touched on it in his presser, right, where he's gone, really tough season without trophies in the league. It's a really big club that is alive and change things. He says, for some people, it's hard to understand and see, but I think we're improving as a team. The lack of goals punishes us in some games. If I have to choose a positive, it's the feeling that in the stadium with the fans, it's the beginning of something. That's fine. But you see this bit about lack of goals, because clearly the focus is, like you said, we can't score. We rarely look like scoring consistently.
Yeah.
Have we, and this is just a question out loud, right? Because we know we need stuff. But are we, as fans, because we know we need loads of other positions, can it be more simpler? Can it be that if you actually change that front line and make it more potent, you've got compartments that is improving enough that the team will be better if they could just score more goals instantly?
Yeah, goals win your games,
or is it?
You know, or
is it more than that? It's like if you still got Onana though, and you still got a pivot of Casemiro and Ugarte, you're just not going to keep the ball long enough, is it? Or is it like, no? If you start the season with Delap, Cunha, and Mbeumo straight away, and like maybe Bruno with Casemiro, Bruno with Ugarte, straight away, you're way better.
Well, our biggest issue we had negative goal difference this past season. We had negative goal difference last season. In Ten Hag's first season, I think our goal difference was only like plus 13 or something like that. And actually, in that first season, remember, our defense was one of the better defenses in the league. We've been struggling to score goals because of only having one striker available, this, that, and the other, for a really long time. At least 3 seasons ish. So, you know, goals can bail you out of games. Obviously, if you're going to win a title, like a Premier League or a Champions League, then your defense and the goalkeeping thing is really, really important. But that's why I said I like these signings that we're linked to already. Cunha, like nearly 20 goals this season, 17, 16 odd goals. And Mbeumo, 20 goals this season. You know, Delap adding in 12 goals in his first season in the Premier League or whatever it is.
In a relegated team.
That in a relegated team. Like, if you added that number of goals into our team this season, we go up several positions in the league. We still probably don't get in the top 6 or something, but still, you know, they do change games. They do, you know. And obviously with United, look, it's different because there's the pressure of putting the ball in the back of the net at the Stretford end at Old Trafford. That pressure is a little bit different, but still, we need goals. We haven't been scoring goals for the longest time. It's not even just linked to this season. It's been linked to the last 3 seasons. That's why I even pushed back with the Rasmus stuff at points this year, where I'm like, you know, Man United, he doesn't get any service, because actually we've had more clear-cut chances at different points of the season than Forest. Forest this season, they were clinical. They were putting the ball in the back of the net. And again, that's the difference, you know? So yes, obviously, I mean, look at the Europa League final. Spurs have 1 shot on target, and even that's not the goal they scored from. It's an own goal. It's an own goal. We don't really threaten all that much, but you know, that's what you get into
with a header.
The reason we've been so over reliant, and the defense and the goalkeeper does get scrutinized, is because we can't score. So the only shot will go in, and we're like, we've lost because we're not going to score. So we just,
that's the bit. Then
we had goals in that team. It makes a difference. It
does. So that's why you can see he's basically saying, from the manager's point of view, and when some people look, they say that. Ruben's saying it as well, but we are improving. It's hard to see, but the structure makes us a bit more solid, so we probably won't concede as much. We're not too bad defensively and in possession, but then we turn the ball over sort of final. When we try to actually make something happen. That's the problem. When people sit off us and we can try and build the attack up to a certain point, we're not too bad. I'll be honest, we're not too bad. But as soon as you have to activate and you flick the switch, you go, right, final third entry, switch flicked, it all crumbles. It all crumbles from wing backs to 10s to the 9 to the 8s who got to go and support. They haven't got a clue. So yeah, when I think about it, you know, if you say you got a steady ship of like Yoro, Delict, Martinez, like most of the time, and you know, Mazraoui or
Heaven's improving.
You know, Heaven's improving. You go and Maguire's going to stay. You know, he can play his part. Well, he probably will stay. You never know because he's got a year left. But let's just say that. Say we don't even buy 1 more centre half. You go, I could work. Obviously, Luke Shaw's a disgrace as well. He needs to go, to be fair. But I mean, let's be real. You might have to stay. But you go that cohort of like the central 3. You go, all right. I could stomach that. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. The wing backs.
Well, I don't think we're going to buy a right wing back now, because the way that it's looking like is that those 2 right wing backs next year are going to be Dalot and Ahmad. I think we got to look at that against Villa on the last day of the season, isn't it?
Exactly.
I think if we've got more 10s like Cunha and Mbeumo, and then you know you still can put in Mount, you can still put in Xerxes, then I think that's where Ahmad becomes near enough full-time exclusively a right wing back, which of course he has made a massive difference in that position too. So I think because, you know, and this is what I think Ruben's plan, I think it's kind of like, okay, right, we're not going to get a right wing back. So then you go, actually, what positions are we really recruiting for? Goalkeeper, 10s, striker. And like you said, I don't even know if we'll go for a centre back now, because numbers wise, do we really need it? Maybe a midfielder. That's probably your 5.
And that's what I'm saying. So it's like the defense is like, that's what I'm saying. So that's what I was going to say. So the wing backs, you say probably not going to get another right wing back because Dalot's going to stay, because we still can't, remember, we can't afford loads of stuff. We can't do luxury stuff. You've got to focus really on the heart of the problems. So you leave your right wing backs and you go, right, for this season, it's got to be Ahmad and Dalot with 1 game a week. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The left side, you go, right, obviously Dorgu's improving. He's starting to show a little bit. There's still a lot for him to do, but you say it's him, Amas, and this Diego Leon kid. We'll see what happens. They might get him in and go, okay, not ready.
1 game a week.
One game a week as well. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe he stays in the squad. So you go, all right, cool. It's midfield is the issue, though. I think we have to get a midfielder. I think we need a midfielder, personally. Because you look at it, Bruno's been asked to play one back. It's not his best position, but he can do it. Ugarte needs the right partner for me. Casemiro resurgence, yes, but there's limitations there. We need a proper centre midfielder. We need legs in there. We need dynamism in there. We need someone who can look after the ball, progress the ball, pass forward between the thirds. We need a dictator. We need a proper central midfielder, I would say. The goalkeeper, like you said, is a big issue. And then everything else is attack-based. And we've got a bunch of 10s. Mason Mount's going to stay. Has he put his injury woes behind him? Still too early to say. It was very early in the melee of how crap the season was towards the end of it. We didn't even really get to speak about, actually, Mason Mount was... Listen, he's got playing postseason now. I don't know. It's too early. But the fact he even made it through that to actually be fit enough to start a final and stuff like that is massive. It's massive. Excuse me one second. You carry on.
Yeah, but if we do get those Flex's fake phone call, where's the account again? Flex's fake phone call. Well, whilst Flex is doing that as well, we'll move on to Mbeumo just shortly. But we've got close to 2,700 people watching right now. We're over 500 likes. Let's see if we can get to 1K. Get to 1K this morning. Let's get to 1K likes if we haven't. On the Mbeumo stuff, this is very real. If you were worried that, Ben Jacobs and Alex Crook, Talk Sport, is it how real is it? I'll wait. Lots of different outlets are all now saying the same thing. So first of all, hat tip to Ben Jacobs and Alex Crook, because they were the first to report this story. And when people are first and they get it right, they deserve the credit. Absolutely. So Ben Jacobs and Alex Crook said that Manchester United have held talks with Bryan Mbeumo. Brentford value him at around £50 million. Now, as I mentioned, several other outlets then confirmed that Manchester United are indeed interested in him. Chris Wheeler from the Daily Mail saying Manchester United are pursuing an interest in Brentford's Bryan Mbeumo this summer. They have held initial talks with his camp, echoing what Crook and Jacobs had said there. Rob Dawson also, as part of his piece last night about United agreeing this deal with Delap and his representatives, and Ipswich said that Manchester United are interested in Bryan Mbeumo, but also Fleck suggested that Manchester United are also interested in Eberechi Eze. It's a name we've been linked to in the past. It's going to be a tough one because I think he, along with a couple of players at Crystal Palace, was earmarked to be possibly leaving this summer, but now winning the FA Cup, being in the Europa League, suddenly that changes a lot of things, and maybe Eze doesn't go, doesn't leave the club. I mean, he's become a Crystal Palace legend, scoring the FA Cup final, winning the FA Cup. He might want an extra year to go on that European adventure, etc. So that one becomes very different because last season, it was him and Elise. They both might be leaving, and the thought was that Eze could end up going to Spurs. That one, of course, didn't end up happening. And now, I know Spurs are in the Champions League, but given all the chaos there, he might actually be better off staying at Palace for another year and then seeing how things go. I saw there were also quite soft links with him and Bayern Munich, suggesting that due to the success of the Elise deal, they might be like, we'll bring Eze in. The Eze one, I just think is going to be maybe a bit too tough for us to pull off, and also I don't think he's got a release clause as far as I'm aware. I'm not sure. No, I mean, if we could get him, I'd be really up for that. But I still would probably lean towards the Mbeumo one because he's just goal scorer, and again, we need goals. Goal scorer.
Yeah, I think it's goals. Yeah, I think because we now have Cunha, it changes. So Eze, listen. Brilliant player. Would walk in and start into our team. Absolutely. But with what we're trying to go after and what we already have, the left hand is Cunha. That's Eze's position, right? He's more comfortable. That's his position. And Mbeumo is a right-sided player. Yes, a right winger, but inside 10, right wing. You can tell he's good enough to be able to mix it up and change it. He's 25, so he's a year younger than Eze. Eze's about to turn 27 in June. Yeah. Obviously some injury issues there as well. Mm-hmm. Less so this year. I was just looking at his because like I say, it's easy to run with fake narratives with injuries because sometimes you can remember a player as just being injured, but until you look at the numbers of what this actual season was, you can get misled. Sorry. He may miss 5 games through injury this year. So that's not bad considering like where he has been at. Little niggly ones. But even last season, even though this is a player that we're saying is notorious for having injuries, the season before he missed 5, 9, 10, 11, 12. about 12 games last season, and the season before that, he had one big injury in his Achilles, and he missed 12 games. So he's had one big injury, then some niggly ones. But again, even me, I'm like, yeah, usually he's quite injury prone, but he only missed 5 games last season, so that's a good return for him. And then the 2 seasons before that, he missed 12 and 12. So that's where it's like 12 games a season is probably a bit much. But this season he only missed 5. But yeah, I just think for us, Mbeumo is the better option, definitely. I would say because we have Cunha, like that's a big difference. Like you've got Cunha in your bag, and if you're honest, in terms of left 10s or 10s in the league, like we've just bought one of the best players in the league. Like we actually have, like, because we're shit, and it's like we can't get the players, and we're this, that, and the third. In terms of actual players in the league, and you go, he's up for nomination for Team of the Year. Like he's one of the best players in the league, and he was last year as well. Do you know what I mean? The season before last, in the 23-24 season. So that counts for something. He's a very good player. So I want to ask you this though, and what do you guys think about this? Because Mbeumo, someone just said they're putting Mbeumo in the 9. We have to. He can play up front. He can play up front,
isn't it?
He's played in a 2 up front with Wissa. He's played as a 1 when he's had to. Obviously, when Ivan Toney was there, mostly it's mainly him. But there's games where he's had to play up front. He's multifunctional. And also, but people were saying this. I saw a couple of fans accounts that were kind of going back and forth in a good way. It was a good discussion. I was just reading a thread of responses, and somebody said, "I don't think Mbeumo." They put it a bit negatively because it looked like a bit of a poo-poo parade, but if I just take the football in context, he was basically saying, I don't know if Mbeumo is the right player to get because we have Ahmad. And if you've got Ahmad at right wing back and you've got Mbeumo as right 10, they're very similar. You need like proper 6 and a proper right-sided centre back if you're going to have them to attack in that way. And this other account was basically saying, well, that's what the Ruben thing is, the overloading of those attacking players when it's right. And yes, you need a combative. That's why we need a combative central midfielder, and you need a combative right centre back who can cover that space because those two are going to go attack. But I wanted to ask you guys here, and you, Owen, like, do you think, obviously we get excited to say Mbeumo, but actually for balance, if you've got Ahmad right wing back and then Mbeumo, or no, because you're going to have Dalot some games, it might be all right.
If we can get this signing done, I think it's a really big deal. I think, like I said, you've got goals this season, and I think he's ready for a step up. When Ivan Toney left Brentford, there was this almost idea that effectively Brentford, I wouldn't be shocked if they get relegated next season because they're Ivan Toney FC, basically. He just scores all their goals. Look at what it was like when he obviously he was banned for the gambling thing, and Brentford really struggled that season, didn't they? And then he came back and, But this season, though Ivan Toney and Mbeumo scored goals, like you said, can play in the right 10, can play as a striker, which I think is critical too. If it is tight financially after doing some of those other deals, they might look at Mbeumo a bit of a Mazraoui when it was like, well, we're bringing him in for this position, but he can also play this, that, and this position. That means we've got more depth in the squad. So I think we could see situations where Mbeumo plays up front. And
he's played 6 games up front this season.
And I think
just he had to, you know what I mean? But
mainly,
I think obviously
critically as well, off the ball, he works hard. You don't in those Thomas Frank teams.
Very hard.
In those Thomas Frank teams, you have to off the ball do a lot of work. And obviously, we're so used at United in recent years to our strikers or forward players off the ball. Yeah, sometimes they'll press, sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll come back, sometimes they won't. And Mbeumo, he's a system player, he's a team player. Off the ball, he'll work, which I think will be important too, because Ahmad, when he's playing right wing back, defensively, that's going to be the difficult part, right? Obviously, we know him going forward, he's good, and we know his work rate's good. But
he works hard defensively. He's just going to need the support.
He'll need the support, which
and to be fair to Ahmad, the change we've seen in him, or the adaptation we've seen from him when he has played right wing back, he doesn't look left on an island every time. I'll tell you what, it's a because we're quite compact, and there's, 5 other defenders on the pitch at the time when he plays there or whatever. It's like he is quite protected. It is all right. I haven't seen him because I worry for him, Jeff, sort of thing. If he's got to go up against like Matoma or Anthony Gordon, other left wingers, that you think, what's that going to be like? But you see him even the other day against Rodgers was trying to bully past him. He got his body there, got the ball back, ran it back up the other side. He's quite physical, Ahmad, for how little he is. Like he's deceptively strong. And defensively, those disciplines, it isn't like, oh, Ahmad, mate, whenever he plays there, it's like he's way too high, gets caught out, running back towards goal, like that running back, oh, I'm out of position. It doesn't tend to happen because, again, we've been so conservative as well. We don't, apart from like, the Forest counter-attack and stuff, that Ten Hag, what was happening when he was there, we were just open like anything, getting carved apart, running back towards goal. That doesn't tend to happen anymore because we've got more defenders and we play about five.
Not
it
as
doesn't
much.
happen.
Yeah, definitely not as much. Yeah.
So to be fair, I hear that. Mbeumo, for me, again, I'm just looking at the numbers and looking at the facts. I'm just looking at his whole career. Yes, mainly I'm looking at, when on Transfer Market, you can see all the positions he has played in his career. Left wing, second striker, attacking mid, centre forward, right wing, right midfield, left midfield. So like Owen said, he's a system player. Yes, most of his 163 of his appearances have been as a right winger, but 42 have been playing as a second striker. 30 of them have been as a main striker. 20 of them have been as a right midfielder. 6 have been as a left midfielder. So it's whatever you need from him, you can clearly see he's adaptable. It's just that they settled on, you're the right winger at Brentford now because we've got you, Vissa, Tony, you'd be on the right. That's fine. So I'm here for it. And actually, obviously, yes, Fleck Mbeumo and all that, the little kind of thing. It'll be amazing if he came. But just as him as a player, I really like him. And we can't rule out with this team. That's another thing. We're thinking quite tunnel vision because we obviously just want to fix the individual problems. We're not thinking about adaptability. Someone put up a thread on Joshua Zirkzee yesterday. Obviously, Freds and comps, it's like, oh, whatever, man, I've seen it. But even as before, towards him getting injured, we did start to see, didn't we? We started to see, actually, if there's a lot of things around him, he can make the ball stick, he can work. So what I was going to say is we're not thinking that, like, yeah, Liam Delap could come in, but there's going to be games where Zirkzee plays up front. There's going to be games where maybe Mbeumo could play up front. Maybe Cunha could go up there. Like, it's not as rigid and as like
and like you said, not even like that where it's like, okay, this player's starting here, where it's just like during the game, take it in turns, right? Who's playing up front? Oh, Zirkzee, you're playing up front. 10 minutes, you drop back into the right 10, and Mbeumo will go up front for 10 minutes. Just gives defenders something else to think about. Cunha, all right, you're going to switch from Mbeumo, or you can have that rotation a bit like I'm very risky to say this because obviously these three were very successful together up front. But when people had those Salah, Mane, Firmino.
Hold on, wait a minute, Owen. Wait a minute. Are you saying
no, exactly?
Wait a minute.
So you're saying definitely not. But as you can,
actually better than Firmino, confirmed.
But when you've got those, when you've got 3 players that are like that, you can interchange. You can, obviously spin around. So that's really positive. That's why I like the Mbeumo one. And also, this is when, because we see more obviously Premier League games than we see with other games. If we were getting a player from a mid-table Serie A side or a mid-table La Liga side, and you got up his stats and said this season he's got 20 goals, X amount of assists, you'd be like, bring him in, bring him in. Bring him in. It's only because obviously we see it and we're like Brentford. Oh no, we've got to get Premier League proven players. So again, if we get this one, if we signed Mbeumo and Cunha and add that into our attack, I mean, again, I know football doesn't work like this, but you're adding goals. They're 2 of like the highest scoring players in the league this season, legitimately. And all the other ones that are high scoring players, we couldn't even dream of getting them. It's looking at that list of players that have actually scored goals in season. Which one could we actually get? And they're 2 of them. Obviously, the Cunha one we've done. The Mbeumo one, I think this one would be almost a bit more of a coup because I just think there are more clubs interested in him. You know what I mean? And clearly, Cunha really wants to, and we'll get to the Cunha one in a second. Clearly, he's only really ever wanted United. The Mbeumo one, hey, there's a lot of clubs in for him. That's going to be difficult. That's going to be tough.
There is. And again, there's options for these players. There's options, man. I think we've got a massive problem if or when we hear that Newcastle United have also began talks with Bryan and Mbeumo. And listen, I know we say a law of Man United and it depends on the individual. Sometimes, like I said, Matheus Cunha has not really... It wasn't like he was close to going City or this, that, and the third. Obviously, people would have sniffed, but the way we've got this done so quickly isn't just a release clause. It's because he made his mind up very quickly that it's Man United. I don't care whether they get in the Europa League.
He said it for years, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I want to go back to that infamous clip of him on the beach or when he's sitting down having a coffee or whatever. And
because that was like 2 years ago or so. Ridiculous.
Do you know what I mean? It's just, we're just lucky that it coincides with a player who's always had it in his, I've come through the mud from Brazil and this, that, I want to play for Man United. Because that, and this is what James is saying and what we have to remember. That still is a thing, guys. Don't get that. Don't let any neutral or rival fan tell you, right, that we can't attract players. Obviously, we have to, again, because I was moaning the other day, we have to be realistic. We can't be arrogant about it anymore. We're Man United, we can get anyone, mate. If it's between us and them, it's always going to be us. That's what we used to be able to say. We can't say that anymore. But what we can say is that, don't get it twisted. Even though we're in our worst moment in recent history, in all of these players' lives who are playing now, it's the worst they've ever seen Man United in their lifetime, right? Worse than ours. Out of all them players, there are still ones that will just badge will be like, nah, I want to be a Man United player. I don't. If anything, it means I've got a better chance of getting in there now because the shit. Like, because before you had to be like legitly world class or like a top draw player to play for Man United. Now the bar's come down a bit. So if you're on your way up and you fancy, it's like, oh, I could be a Man United player. I could be the one to get them, but I want to be the man. That still exists, and we've just proved it with this Cunha signing. Let's be real. What business does Cunha have coming to Man United? He's one of the best 10s in the league. He can take his pick of some Champions League clubs or around Europe, but he wants to come to Man United. I saw Leah's put a tweet out when he saw that we was talking to Mbeumo. He said, it was almost like, why do these players want to come to us? I just quoted underneath, United, mate.
United.
Simply, that's it, with a Y. United with a Y, mate. Because to some players, not all, because the likes of Victor Gyökeres, like you say, will go, listen, I'm at Sporting. Man United's a massive club, but sorry, from where I'm at in my career, I get it. But Mbeumo, you never know. You might say, yeah, Newcastle in the Champions League, I get that. Amazing, but just Man United, man. Cameroonian guy just thinking, you know what? I dreamt of this. This. Man United, mate. So, yeah, it's very interesting. Is that Fabrizio? What's he said? Is that true? What's going on there? Fabrizio there.
Oh.
Is that...
Oh, he hasn't
Ben
said
Jacobs.
I don't know if he's...
I think he said it on a video. I saw a video.
Yeah, it might be on that. But speaking of the Cunha stuff, and by the way, we're nearly at 3K live. So if you haven't already,
where are we at for likes? What's going on?
Be sure we're
763. 1K, guys. Come on, man.
We can get to 1K likes. We can get to 1K, or at least a like 1.5 flex. So if you haven't already, click the like button. And just on the Cunha stuff, because of course we get more details on the finances and what have you of this one too. Now, obviously we've got the Here We Go from Fabrizio over the weekend. Chris Wheeler saying Manchester United have actually yet to formally approach Wolves for Matheus Cunha, but they're now expected to do so. Cunha could travel to Manchester for a medical before the end of the week after agreeing a 5-year contract. And as far as how Manchester United are going to pay for this, of course, Cunha does have a release clause, but Manchester United will pay the £62.5 million fee for Cunha in 3 installments over a 2-year period. The first installment of £20.8 million will be paid upon the purchase, a second installment at the end of next season, and the final amount due in the summer of 2027. And so if you're wondering, when it comes to these finances and what have you of this, Delap and others, Man United, again, as Flex pointed out, when it comes to money, we don't have it. We're paying it on credit. We're paying it on credit. And importantly, these players that we're going after now, Cunha, Delap, possibly Mbeumo, that's money that Manchester United are confident they've got now, or at least will be getting now. That's like, okay, guaranteed we can spend around, 60 plus 30 plus 50, like 140-ish million quid, which to be fair that's what's been put out there, hasn't it? Like,
and United, you know what, Owen?
140 million.
If we're honest, because we know as fans, again, we're being realistic, we're being honest with where we're currently at. Unless you're being silly and playing EAFC, we know we can't just go, right, but that's quick. I tell you what you do. You go and get Adam Wharton from there. You go and get Belieber from there. Right, then you go and get Delap. Then you take that money, you get Shirky, you add him in for some... Unless you're being silly like that, we all know that there's a certain amount of players that we can buy, and then it's player sales. If you're going to tell me now that we would get 2 10s and a striker, because we don't know who they're going to be yet, but we know one's going to be Cunha. Mbeumo, we don't know yet. It's just talks. Delap, we don't know yet. He might reject us. But if you're telling me that with the money that we just have, because it's tough, that we're going to get 2 good 10s and a decent striker, before we even sell anyone, I'm over the moon. With what we need to go and get, I'm over the moon, because then you start going, right, Rashford, Garnacho, Sancho, Rasmus, let's just say. That's 4 to raise some money, you know. Then you can look at goalkeeper and central midfielder. And then that 5, if we could do that, 2 10s, a striker, a central midfielder, a goalkeeper, I'm happy. I'm happy.
That's 5 first team players that probably go straight into the first
team. All starting, yeah.
And like we said, we did say this towards the end of last season, didn't we?
And Anthony, sorry. And Anthony,
if you get 5 if you buy 5 starters and look at this shitty team we've had all season, and you put 5 new players that are all starters into that team, we do get better. And also, with those attacking players, they're all goal scorers there. Cunha, Mbeumo, Delap, score goals, right? That makes a difference. If you get a goalkeeper, again, because the bar's so low, you go, well, should we just be conceding less goals by proxy because we'd have a goalkeeper that can save and dive and doesn't punch the ball and push it straight out into the box? Well, that makes surely that would make a difference.
10 points straight away. In it though, let's just be real, Owen. We'd save, and that's off the top of my head, 10 points.
Minimum.
Straight away.
I mean, that's 3 wins and a draw. You know what I mean?
So has Onana been involved in 3 losses and a draw? Probably.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You're a low number. That's a low number.
That's what I'm saying. So the best part of 10 points, probably 15. Straight away by having a competent goalkeeper.
More. It's probably more. Yeah.
Probably more, yeah. Then you go, guys who can hit the back of the net and create consistently. Probably another 10 to 15 points.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 20 to 25 points from just fixing attack and goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
And if you added 25 points on, we'd be 5th. Genuinely.
But then that's when you start sprinkling the sauce of like, I need a world class.
Yeah. And obviously, I know football doesn't work like that. But that's when you do go like, well, again, surely that'll make a difference. Our bar is so low that adding 5 first team starters into the team, surely that makes a difference. Sure.
100%. But also, I know that only gives us by maths. Like you're saying, I know by maths you've just quickly worked out that would only take us to 5th. But it's the feeling of what that actually gives you. You see a good team, you see someone on the front foot. Then again, it's like Arsenal. Well, you spend that, it only take us a second, we still can't win the league. No, then you work out just the small things that you need to just get over the line right now, and the confidence that comes with that. So then you start exceeding expectations when you're confident and you're feeling good, you're scoring goals. So that 5th can easily turn into 3rd, can easily turn into a title challenge if you get shit right. You know what I mean?
Some teams get better and some teams get worse, remember, as well. So obviously there'll be teams that will get better this summer. They'll get more points than they got last season. There'll be teams that perform well this season, they'll get less. So the table will reshuffle itself again. But critically, to your point, if you can do the Cunha one's done. If you can do the Delap and Mbeumo one as quickly as possible with the money that we've got, then a lot of your focus and energy goes on to moving some of these players on, which we've struggled to do in the past. And then we get closer to the end of the window and we're like, right, we've moved players X, Y, Z on. How much money have we got left? Who can we bring in now? And that's when you start saying, that's when you start going, right, we can get a goalkeeper with this, or we can get a midfielder with this, maybe a couple of midfielders. So it's good to get these early deals done with the money that we've got. And then you basically try and fundraise for the rest of the summer and see what you can do with anything else, see if any market opportunities pop up, because that's also the other thing to think about too. You have your long-term targets, but then next thing you know, some people then just suddenly decide, I don't want to be at this club anymore. And, they have a fallout or this, that, and the other comes up, and you never know. You never know what can happen. So, and look, and I think I was saying this last night on the red carpet, I think we're all here for it. I know, obviously, it was a bad season, worst ever in the Premier League, certainly, and horrible last week with the Europa League. But to be fair, Ruben said it, it's over now. The inquest has been ongoing for months. We know the work we've got to do. Holy shit, Ineos should know the work they've got to do. If they don't know with everything that's been going on with the last 12 months, it's a completely other conversation whether you trust them to do it or not. But now is the time. Look, everyone at that club, you've got to earn your money, because what happened this season can't happen again. He just can't because we'll get relegated if it happens again. We got off lightly. Yeah. So bring these signings in. Everyone else is moving quick. We're not alone in that regard. Liverpool strengthening, Arsenal strengthening. Obviously, all these other clubs will be doing just that. So this summer, just for us specifically, but across football, you can feel it. This is going to be a big summer transfer window for a lot of clubs.
But to say, for a lot of clubs, and it's just interesting that we have to get a smaller squad and money wise. So we still shouldn't expect maybe more than like 5 in, which is what we
5. It's the outgoings. It's the outgoings.
It's the outgoings to trim it, which will put us in a better financial state to then move forward and then go again, hopefully maybe in January or obviously again the next summer. Sahaj says, now we just need to sign his dad for assists from throw-ins. On a serious note, Mbeumo should be our next serious target, which it seems like he is clearly a target. There's concrete talks that have happened, but we'll see what happens from that. Grogo Man United says Cunha and Mbeumo being signed will take pressure off Delap and allow him to grow. Also, Kane is Lewandowski-esque. I can see him going to even 2030. Yeah, that's true. That's true. 2030. Well, that's true. He can keep going. Alhambra says Chelsea fan here. If you get Delap and Mbeumo Cunha, you have resolved your biggest issue. Conversion. Don't rush to upgrade everything. I would know. Yeah, okay, fair play, fair assessment. Which is why we were talking about actually, is it just fix that top end of the pitch? The rest you can work with, work it out. It's not great. Still might hurt your eyes a bit seeing, Casemiro specials around the sides or Ugarte can't really keep the ball. Hurt your eyes a little bit, but at the top end, you've got so much more. And again, we're still not really remembering what we've got because Xerxes was a work in progress. He's starting to see something. Ahmad, you know what you're going to get there. Mason Mount, again, I know the injuries, but it's a work in progress. Bruno, there's a Kobe Mainu. Yeah. So we're actually littered with players in and around that area.
About Bruno, have we? Of if Bruno stays, look, it's still goals and assists.
Which he probably will. He probably will stay.
Who knows? I mean, Amarin today's been saying that he wants to keep him, but he's not going to say anything different, is he?
No, he's always said he's wanted to keep him, to be fair. And he said he ain't going Real Madrid because I told him he's staying. Said that ages ago. Then we proceed to finish 15th and don't get the Europa League, and it changes a lot of stuff. So, Jeremiah says, "Big up UV. I'm in the hospital waiting for my daughter's birth. Oh wow, guys!
Congratulations!
Congratulations. So hope everyone's good. Hope she's well. When did you send that? You sent that at 9:34. So now your daughter could be here. So big up. And congratulations to you and your partner. Guys, don't forget that Mbeumo is a fellow French-speaking player, and this will help Ahmad. Yeah, on that right-hand side. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right-hand side. Aloha from Leon says, what do you think about the Eze report /links? That was about 9:30, so we probably would have been speaking that around then. Ellen says, fixing the attack this summer and defense next, 2028. Here we come, as Sir Jim said. Owen. Tell you what, we're on course. We're on course to 2028. If we get a potent attack, hold on, wait a minute. If we get a potent attack now, big boy defenders the next summer with a few midfielders, we're doing a title charge 2028. Yeah. Why not? So this will be 25-26 season, then 26-28, 27. Yeah, I tell you what, Owen. Let's look into that. Alhambra says, with 2 10s and specialist wing-backs, central mid becomes less vital. Okay. Joe Fleming says, do you think they promote Kone as our new midfielder? Forgot about Sekou Kone. You never know. He didn't quite make it into the cut like Chido did and Aiden Heaven to maybe get fast-tracked with all the injuries we had. He was in a couple of match day squads, never got on the pitch. I think this summer's really important for him and really interesting for us to see and have a look at him. I think he will obviously be on tour. Did he travel with this postseason? Because Ruben said there's a lot of kids there.
I didn't see.
Let me get a look at him tomorrow. We might get a look at him tomorrow.
Maybe.
Again.
Yeah.
What's the travelling squad? Yeah. Someone put the travelling squad in the thing. Let's see who actually went. But on Kone, I think we bought him with a view to improve and find internal solutions and cheap solutions and develop young kids. So that's what we did with Chido. That's what we've done with Aiden Heaven, and his was even quicker, and he looks really good. So let's hope that actually Kone, you never know, maybe Kone could be that guy. Toby Collier, we haven't really spoke much about as well, the development of him. So there's options. Conrad says, loving the positive vibes and how quick Man United are working for once. Great shows. Oh, for once that because they're working, not for once that we've actually got a good show. You mean for once that Man United are working quickly? Boom, says Conrad. 100%, a lot of positivity about the place. Ivor says, "Good morning, guys. Do we have a top 4 midfield?" No, we don't, as it stands. This is what we're saying. We need a central midfielder to help for sure. Marmo says, "What's news on Anthony? Surely he deserves another chance. People still trolling him even after this better stint. Condescendingly talking about Ballon d'Or season and all. Deserves respect on his name." I saw Joe Cole sort of do a piece where he was like, they was asking him like, "Do you fear Anthony?" He goes, "That Man United player, no, but this one at Betis, I do fear him." And we saw that interview that he did when he said he was in tears, sort of crying, saying how hard it was, and in the room, not eating. It was a tough read actually. And he was going through it. He was ridiculed every week. We were laughing at him and saying worst player we've ever bought, and that obviously would have been difficult for him. And he's really found himself at Betis. But I don't know. Are we overlooking that? Could Anthony come back and be part of it? Don't know. I doubt it, but we need money. I mean, no, because where would he? No, right wing back, right 10. We're clearly looking for Mbeumo 50. No, actually, no. They're cashing. Sorry to like. I get what you're saying about the positivity, Marmo, but we've already the moves we're clearly trying to make. We're trying to go after 2 solid 10s. Right wing back, you got Ahmad, you got Dalot. It's not going to be that. It's more of a resurrection of his career, and we can get some money for him because it didn't work out at United, and he can go and show that he's a good player. Connor says, let's buy our stuff on Klarna because it's about to go bust. Andrew says, still think 2 midfielders is a must. We hardly win midfield battles and struggle in build-up. If get only 1, I think that means if he gets injured, the drop physically would be too much. So go and get 2 central midfielders. Listen, that'd be great, but I just don't know. I just don't know what we're going to be able to do there. Jay Silver says, Manu Kone, the centre mid from Roma, would also be good. Yeah, the young guy, I've seen him a couple of times. But again, these are just names that we like. Shirky as well as another one. We haven't been linked, but it's like he's just available for 25 million. So it's like, yeah, you go and get him, definitely. It just doesn't work like that, does it? It just doesn't work. Massive show, people. Massive show. Still over 2K watching as we wrap up the show. Where did we get to? 948 likes. Come on, people. Get that to 1K right now.
1K.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Let's just... For
positivity. That's what it is. Positivity, not negativity. Positivity.
Positive. I'm just reading to see if we've missed anything that we might need to add in. No, I did want to see the travelling squad though, Owen, just really quickly. Let me do that. Man United travelling squad.
Listen to Flex tap away on his keyboard.
There you go, mate. Travelling squad for Asia. Here we go. Right. Goalkeepers: Andre Onana, Altay Bayindir, and Tomo. Defenders: Amas, Dan Armour, Diogo Dalot, Matheus Delap, Patrick Dorgu, Johnny Evans, Tyler Fredrickson, Aiden Heaven, Jaden Kamarson, Goodwill Kukonki, Harry Maguire, Reece Monroe, and Luke Shaw. Also, Yoro hasn't gone.
Probably.
It's left him back. Yeah, just to recover.
Yeah.
Fair play. Good. And obviously Martinez is out anyway. Midfielders: Casemiro, Collier, Bruno Fernandes, Tyler Fletcher, Sekou Kone. Sekou Kone is there. Kobe Mainoo, Jack Morehouse. That's another name we've wanted to see. Mason Mount. Jimmy Twaits. Go on, Jimmy. And Manuel Gart. Forwards: Garnacho, Ahmad, Rasmus, Hoyland, Shea Lacey, Chido.
Xerxes is there.
And Xerxes is there. Yeah. So, So, okay. That's the full travelling squad. Oh, Ericsson hasn't gone. I thought, obviously it's his last game, but he actually, they're like, nah. Oh, and Lindelof hasn't gone. Yeah. Because those guys need to find new clubs, don't they? For Johnny Evans probably retiring. So, or just, because it's Man United and he loves
a farewell tour.
Yeah, farewell tour. But obviously, Ericsson, you wouldn't, would you? You wouldn't go on a postseason thing. You're trying to look for a club, go and play against some shitty friendly, and then flipping do your Achilles, and then you can't get a club next year.
Yeah,
it's just not what's done. All right, are we done for super chats? Or is there some more? Early next season predictions, says Aloha. Too early. I know we're being positive.
Aloha. Too early. Yeah, it's too early.
I'm not there yet. Owen, are you there yet?
Not yet. I've got to see some action first. And I'll
see some preseason games, see some players get bought.
Yeah, see some signings.
Not yet. But here's to the positivity, guys. Smash a like on the way out. Did we get to 1,000? Did we do it?
Yes, we did.
Just by one. Yes, there you go. All right, peeps, big up to yourselves. What day is today? It's Tuesday, so that I make that Flexing KG show this evening. I've had one for a while actually as well, so looking forward to that this evening, 7 p.m. And we will see you then. Any breaking news, any big stories that happen throughout the day, we will be on it. It is transfer season, so there's a lot happening. So yes, we will be breaking any news that comes out as well. Take care, guys. See you soon. Peace.